Maria. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining from the MCF and IVP programs. Thank you very much for joining. We have once again, for the second time, this program, Mr. Nour Hassoun here to talk about design. Last time we talked about designing your prototype. I've been seeing some of the prototypes delivered and they look very interesting. And today we're going to talk about designing your pitch deck, which is one of your most central documents as a startup. I don't know if Zadur is going to talk about investor deck or your own deck to pitch. It's about the design, so it really applies to both.
Yes.
But we'll get into the details of each type of pitch deck with Arthur next week. But today isn't necessarily just
Mhm.
about the content; it's more about how it looks. And please don't
It's
underestimate the importance of how it looks. Sure, Noor.
me and me. It's not just how it looks, it's also having a tool set to be able to iterate super quickly on
Right,
pitch decks
right,
and be
right.
able to utilize AI حتى to test different pitch decks. It's
Yeah.
I've it's such an important skill to learn.
Yeah. And we're
Uh
gonna see some tools that are not the mainstream as much. They're just getting started, and they're very good tools, very impactful and useful. So you're gonna be seeing something very new here that you've probably never seen before. So we're looking forward to Noor giving us this wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, Hani. I want to say you're probably going to see a bit of both. And I'm going to use some like mainstream tools. I'm going to use some more underground tools. It's going to be like a very casual workshop style thing, just so you can know what's possible in terms of quickly designing and iterating on your decks and creating some customization for every other deck that I think is a super important thing because it really makes it feel like you've put in effort for the person who's receiving the deck. So, anyways, my name is Noor. I'm not gonna go too deep into intros. I believe most of you are still the same cohort. You can who were here in the previous talk, I would assume. So I'd rather just like talk directly into it. This is make a super awesome pitch deck in less than 10 minutes using AI. And I do want to start off by saying that the title is a bit misleading because pitch decks take way longer than 10 minutes. The whole idea of make a pitch deck in 10 minutes is iterate on your pitch deck in 10 minutes or make something and test it out in 10 minutes. But then designing a pitch deck is such a long process, and it's one of those things you really need to sit with. You really need to give it its time. I think Hani and the iPark team know some days can throw hala iPark. From the morning to very late at night, I would be just sitting and fine-tuning my pitch deck and making sure that I get the opinion of everyone. I present it to some of my colleagues, some people at iPark, some people online. I try to get feedback and I really iterate and iterate to make sure that the idea is coming across because all of us have really good ideas in our head and we understand our product in our head, but maybe it's not translating. And one of the best ways to make something translate is visual. So having text that is readable, having visuals that give the idea that you're trying to give in a slide, all of these different things, they're as important as the content itself. If you see a Word document on the screen, no one's going to understand what you're trying to say, and you're going to lose everyone's attention. If you have a screen that's pretty much engaging and refreshing to look at, your idea could be within 3 seconds could be communicated. لأنه أصلا 3 seconds is usually how long someone spends on on a certain slide. And so you want to take the worst case scenario if someone is just flipping through my deck, going through the whole thing in 30 seconds. Are there visual cues that help me showcase the main parts of my deck and what I want to communicate? And so this isn't very much a presentation style. I'm going to hop into tools, but I do want to kind of give a very quick intro and say my previous presentation in the last workshop was entirely made with AI in 10 minutes, actually. All of the slides. And I'm going to show you like a couple of slides here that I also did with AI in 10 minutes. This is none of the text is something I added. This is one prompt, and I put the image مثل ما هي. This is like what you would imagine as like a problem slide, like 50% of something is lost or revenue or whatever. It's so easy to just make a slide like this that looks pretty well designed. It communicates something. There's a big number, there's hierarchy, there's a title that shows that this is the problem. all with one prompt. This took me maybe 20 seconds to create as a slide. I know it doesn't have visuals, but this is where some of the fine tuning comes in. And then like visuals for like the market. It's it's so much better if you're not a designer to rely on AI to at least give a tiny sense of design in your slides, as opposed to maybe having these like very boring. I have one line with like numbers and the fonts are all the same size and nothing is clear, kind of situations, which I see in a lot of decks. And unfortunately, this is the best way to lose someone's attention. Things like creating dream team slides, like you can put your images and then they can create a standardized way for everyone to show up in your deck and introduce the different people. This is an example of a slide I had in a presentation before. I had a graph, I made that graph with AI on the slide in 10 seconds, and it literally kind of showed the idea of what I wanted to say. I'm going to show you a couple more examples before I hop straight into it. This is another slide I made fully with AI in one of my presentations. And so, again, you can tell that it's possible to show that you have a whole design team just by being a person with a laptop using an AI tool. I just told the AI I need, and I'm going to show you actually the prompt that I used here, but then I told the AI that I need a two-sided comparative screen that shows jobs threatened by AI, jobs safe from AI. I gave it the list that I wanted. I told it the design elements that I wanted, how I imagine it, and it created a beautiful slide for me. Another slide that I created with AI. And so we're seeing a lot of typography, and I'm going to get into visuals in a second, but typography is super, super, super important in your text. You cannot have the same typography for everything. Your main word or two words or phrase needs to be much larger, much easier to see than everything else. All the details 9 out of 10 people are not going to read them. You can have those much smaller. They can be kind of this extra thing that someone who's interested could look at. But you want your text to have hierarchy. You want to have certain things be stronger and bolder than other things. As for visuals, it's so easy to iterate on visuals with AI. And so one example I want to give is I had to pitch to PSG, the football team, recently. And I had this visual in my deck. هلا شلت التكست منه. So usually the text goes on the left. I removed the text. And I wanted to make the deck feel customized for PSG. And so I just used AI, and in 5 seconds, I made the characters wear their kit. This is another example. This is a visual I had in my general deck. This is the visual in my PSG deck. And I did this with ChatGPT. I literally just put this image and I put an image of their kid and I'm like, make him wear this. It was so easy. It looked like I put so much effort into redesigning the deck specifically for the PSG proposal, when in reality, what I did was just I went to ChatGPT, uploaded a bunch of images, showed the kit, and I was like, can you recreate those images? But make them wear it. And obviously, sometimes it's wonky, sometimes it's better, but you can always regenerate the images. You can even create icons. I love this use case with AI. I used to create my icons manually. I used to draw them in vector art, استعمل Adobe Illustrator and a bunch of other tools. Now I just go into AI and I'm like, can you give me three icons? Left to right, one of them is like a direct connection between two people. The other is like a search tree that connects it to three people. And then the third one is a computer connected to three other people. And then this became like me explaining like, oh, direct in my deck, this is like direct connection. This is catalog search, and this is API integration. And these became the icons that I used in a new version of the deck. And so this is a very short presentation because I'd love to kind of hop into some of the tools that I use and show you how I use them and some examples from the past of how I've used them. I'm going to show you some wonkiness يمكن that you can see with them. But the first one I want to kind of introduce, and Hani knows that I love this one, it's ideogram. Lay ideogram. I don't think anyone has heard of ideogram. It's one of the least talked about AI tools, and yet it's funded by Andreessen Horowitz. It's worth, I think their last fundraise was at a valuation of $500 million. It's actually an insanely funded tool created by researchers who have left Google, OpenAI, etc., to create an image model that does certain things way better than those other models. And what Ideogram does super, super, super well is it's really good with text and typography. يعني فيها أعطيه thesis وقول له make that thesis look nice. And it's probably like 9 out of 10 times going to get the text and the letters and the typography all correct. It's not going to mess up with a lot of the lettering. This is something that Nano Banana cannot do at the moment. Nano Banana's text, in my opinion, sucks. This is something that ChatGPT does. The design of the text in ChatGPT tends to be super basic. Meanwhile, as I بتفوتوا على community, this is like the community thing. You can see a lot of examples of some interesting ways text is being used for logos, for visuals, for other things, and it does it really well. There's a lot of style, there's a lot of يعني like هون مثلا it's the text is basically the silhouette of the logo itself. And so, one second, let me go back. And so it does this really, and it's really good to also kind of, and this is a life hack, and designers are going to hate me for saying this, but it's really good for prototyping logos for yourself. Yeah, no, let's assume, can one of you give me just the name of your company? Like just throw any startup name from the cohort. فيكم تبعتوها بالشات إذا بدكم إذا you don't wanna unmute. Curly.
Can you
Okay, can you send me
can you I'll say it. Can you go with ledgers?
ledgers? Is this Ledgers? Thick.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
And what does your company do? Just as a quick one-liner.
It's a financial OS for startups.
Okay. Let's say make a logo for a company called Ledgers. Do you have any like color you like? قبل لي أي color.
Do the neon light, neon yellow.
Yeah, yellow on a background. Background. Make it minimum and futuristic fintech company logos. Hala, you can really go deep into what your prompt is, but I'm just showing a quick demo. And then هون usually, depending on which aspect ratio you use, the content really adapts to become good at a certain thing. يعني مثلا if you're developing a slide, giving it the ratio of a slide, the 16:9, makes it look like a much better slide. If you have a logo in this case, it's probably going to be 1-to-1 بس وين نشمل oh yeah. So let's just quickly generate this and let's see what we're gonna get. Well, I have the pro tier, so they tend to generate faster than you would on the free version. But it is definitely a tool I would recommend investing into. So it gave me 4 options of logos. And this is just based on in one sentence. So you can go very deep into this. So مثلا ما بعرف add هشيل النيون هحط yellow black background make it minimal features add a house icon on top make it energetic but subtle. And then we like regenerate it again, and then it's gonna like create an icon on top of it. So you can really get creative in, let's say, logos, text, typography, and this fully applies into slides because when you look at a slide, well, the other one generates. When you look at a slide like this is all one image that I generated with Ideogram just by describing what I want to see on the screen. And so let's see. So hold in Ledgers, it had the house icon on top of it. And you can tell it's not misspelling it. Unlike a lot of different AI tools that tend to misspell what you're giving it, most times, sometimes it will misspell, but most times it does a really good job at applying the text that you are giving. And so as a كمل بما images هون, I'm going to show you a couple of the prompts that I used. مثلا هيدا the title slide. It was such a simple prompt of me just describing what I want the presentation slide to be. I said, create a presentation title slide that says make a super awesome pitch deck in less than 10 minutes using AI. And usually when you put quotation marks, it just takes that as a text مثل ما هي بتحطه, where the title fills most of the page and every two words have a different font. Some are elegant, some are minimal, some are maximalist, futuristic. And the slide has a minimal, elegant, futuristic style with a simple background. And it created that, and it created multiple different options. And then I picked the one that I liked the most. And designing something like this would have usually taken you anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes per slide. At least هيدا if you're a good designer who knows what they want. خصوصا لما نبلش نحكي about things like this, where I'm like, here I started being more specific about what are the things on the screen that I want to be bigger. I told it, create a presentation slide that has a title text. So I told it, this is the title. Under it, it has a list, and the list says this, and then this, and then this, with icons for each. And then the background is ultra minimal futuristic, and the text is elegant. Around the text, there are some subtle UI elements which it created. Uh, and then in the form of rectangles. And then I told it add a big text that says 50% and under it a small subtitle of something is something. So it understood لما قلت له this is a big text, this is a smaller subtitle. They are on the right side. These are on the left side. These are usually things you would do on PowerPoint, but on PowerPoint you need to figure out the font, you need to figure out the sizing, you need to do a bunch of things to see like what is a good visual hierarchy that explains this. And then every time you iterate, you need to do it manually. Meanwhile, here you can just get with just one sentence that you wrote, you can get four versions. And then if you see like there's a problem with them, you can just iterate on that sentence, prompt again, and get some other things. So these are like some of the market slides that I got. I wanted it to like have this curvy line, look futuristic. I told it what the different figures are going to be, and then it created those for me. ومثل ما قلت, sometimes it will mess up the text when there's multiple different ones, but then in the others, it kind of worked. And so this is another thing you can do with ideogram. You can also create icons. So let's say icon your problem. Can someone give me the like 2 to 3 problems on your problem slide على pitch deck? إذا بدكم كمان send them on the chat. ما بعرف إذا حدا عم يكتب أو إذا no one's sending anything.
Yes, please interact. Don't be shy.
Hello, do you want us to send يعني the name of the startup or
No. Just like, let's say you're making a problem slide and you want icons for your problem slide. What are like 3 problems that you want icons for? مثلا. هلا إذا بدكم في فرجيكم أنا كيف استعمل actually. Maybe let's do that because no one sent so that's on my InDesign. But in the meantime, Bato, I would love for this to be interactive because it's all about, oops, sorry, it's all about showing, not telling. So هحط أنا ما بعرف. Let's say create an icon that has actually create a black icon on a white background that has a computer connected to 3 different people with a dollar sign in the middle. And then I tell it to generate. And then this could be how you start generating some of your more graphical elements. And so give it a moment. And so it's creating my graphical elements for me. And this is like, okay, this may be in your like solution slide, like, oh, our platform can help you monetize X, Y, and Z. And now you have like a quick visual that you can do. And this is such a basic and simple example, but you can really, really push forward the art direction. And كمان ideogram has tools for that. So if you press this, أول شيء you can put your brand colors, and so you can make a custom color palette based on your brand colors so that the visuals look like what your brand is meant to represent. You can add characters, and as you can see, I have some characters here, including myself. Sometimes I generate photos of myself that don't exist. And you can have a style, and so the style is super important. You can have it as a realistic image. You can have it as a design style, which means icons, graphics, etc. You can let it automatically choose, وحتى في style presets of what you want. Like you can have illustrations, and then kind of take things from there. So there's a lot of control and how you can use this to create visual assets super, super, super quickly that work for your brand. And so I love to use this tool. I try قد ما فيي if I can like get the whole thing in one prompt, I do it. But once you start getting more kind of picky in the kinds of visuals that you want to create, you might need to start kind of composing those on top of each other, maybe in Photoshop. And the best thing about it is it has an option to remove the background. هيك it becomes a PNG, and if you just want to put it on your slide, you could just put it on your slide and it would not have a background. And so that's definitely something you can do. You can also upscale to get a better quality. You can edit, remix. ما حفوت هلا بهول التools. This is just like an overview of what you can do. But I do want to show you some things maybe that I've worked on. صراحة, I don't know what to expect here. I know I use this tool so much. These were some icons that I was generating. When I was I had an image اللي هي هاي. I just wanted to extend it so it becomes a horizontal format to fit a slide. And so I was creating different like backdrops. Um, Same thing here. But then you can see مثلا هون I was trying to add two more people, extend the slide, change some of the outfits. There's so much that you can do. Here I was working on the design of the character, changing a bit of the braids. Hone, I wanted.
Quick question.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
How accurate does it get the face? Like if I give it a prompt that I want to put my image sitting somewhere, how accurate does it get it?
So I'm going to introduce another tool in a bit that is more accurate than Ideogram. On Ideogram, you can create characters, but you can create them from one photo. There are other tools where you can create characters from a million photos of yourself, and it becomes super, super good at that. So I'm going to get to that in a second. Ideogram, Anna personally, I prefer it for graphics, for text, for typography, for these kinds of things. لأنه كمان every tool is powerful in one thing أكتر من غيره. So مثلا هون I love this example. We wanted to talk about your digital passport with Impersonas. And so what we did was لحظة, let me check. What we did was we uploaded the logo. بس عم جرب شوف كيف بدي اطلع لكم the Anyway, it's not showing it here, but we uploaded our logo and we're like, okay, can you put it on a passport? And then جربنا نعمل some iterations on what that could look like to put our logo on a passport. And that became a LinkedIn post that we made about having a digital passport through Impersonas, and it had our logo. Again, this took us like 2 minutes to make. And so it's such a powerful tool. هون you can see where we uploaded the logo and started creating these. هي هون في reference بتبين. We had our logo uploaded, and then we're like, okay, visual of a passport branded with the Impersonas logo. But then we wanted it to look a bit more dramatic, and so we started doing these other tests. And so هون مثلا we were in painting, changing the outfit to something else. Here you can see me make slides for a presentation, and it can get really detailed. Like this is a slide that usually a designer would create for you, both in terms of the typography, the layout, the visuals, the assets. It's really good at understanding. And حتى هون I told it the word actually needs to be italic, and so it did that. I think this was the one that I ended up choosing, and so it followed my guidelines on capitalization, on italics, on where the quotation marks go, the subtitles. This is a very, very well-designed slide. And this should be super exciting for anyone because there's no reason for you to just go and type and use whatever three default fonts you have on your pitch deck when you can start generating slides with text like this. Some visuals here were like showing wireframe. This is in my previous presentation, and you can see that I did that with Ideogram. We've also created brand assets. We use these for our stories on Instagram as a background. And sometimes it does these like weird things where it puts like a text that shouldn't be there, but no, it didn't do it in the others. More brand assets. How to make sure I'm seeing a question in the chat, how to make sure the slides you're creating will fit well into one PowerPoint, for example, because you're creating them one by one. This is where you become really specific in how you describe the slides. You can really give it information, what kinds of fonts you want, what kinds of assets you want. But then as you get more and more specific in how you want to visualize things, you start generating the different assets separately until you combine them into one slide. That being said, a lot of times you might need to send a last minute deck, and having something like these, let me just scroll back into having something like these is much better than just having a really badly put together PowerPoint that you made in 10 minutes. And you're going to notice in your journey that every other day you're going to need a sudden last minute deck because حدا حكاكون, or there's a last minute lead that you didn't have and it needs a deck of its own. And you don't have the time to make a whole new deck that's super consistent, that's visually amazing. And so this is the next best thing, in my opinion. هلا, I kind of showed you a bit about what Ideogram does, but you can also use ChatGPT. And so I know what I did with the PSG thing is just very quickly use ChatGPT to change the outfit. So let me just try to make maybe do a live example very quickly. So let me take this image and I'm going to put it on ChatGPT, and then I'm going to get on Google بالضبط ضمننا مالينا PSG, and ما بعرف I get this thing. And then I tell ChatGPT مثلا, then you make the curl in the first image or the top in the second image. We're gonna need to give it all image generation models unfortunately take a bit to generate. I'm a subscriber of all of them, which speeds it up a bit. I would definitely recommend subscribing to different AI models. You're saving much more money by not needing to hire designers or necessarily like subscribe to design tools by just using these AI tools, which I shouldn't say because I was a faculty member at School of Architecture and Design. But it's so convenient to ignore. So let's just give this a minute. She's now wearing that top. And in just less than a minute, I had a completely new visual that I can put into my deck that is customized for my client. Oh, no, let's assume whoever's kit this is a client I'm pitching to. And this can apply to anything. You can show any kind of visual, upload it, combine it, edit it. ChatGPT tends to be quite good in altering things in photography. And if you have like a photographic visual, let's say on your deck you have a photo of something relevant to your startup, and you want to add something to that photo or change something in that photo to kind of add the logo of the company that you're talking to.
إنه في
ChatGPT tends
عندك
to be really
questions
good at
in the
doing
audience،
this.
بدك تاخذ هلا questions ولا بالآخر؟
بالاخر بفضل، بس اصلا هذا الكويستشن تبع جوليانا I think I already addressed it.
Okay. So there's a couple of
uh,
people who raised their hands. We'll leave it to the end then.
leave it till the end. انا اصلا ما حطول كتير اكتر. It's just a quick overview of the tools, and then the last 15 minutes are going to be open for questions mostly. So ChatGPT is another tool I use quite a bit to generate more, to adjust or edit the images that I'm using. If you want to go a bit fancier, you have Higgsfield. And this is gonna, I wasn't really planning on talking about Higgsfield, but someone mentioned characters and facial consistency. And so I'm gonna show you what Higgsfield can do in facial consistency. So I'm also subscribed to Higgsfield. So let me just log in actually, let me نشوف Okay, for some reason مش عم يفتح. I'm gonna show you here what we did. This character, I uploaded multiple different angles of her. So I'm just gonna show you what that looks like. Some here, social media, hidden personas. Okay. So they had a kind of tool that lets you create, like, become really good at creating content with a character. So we uploaded different images of her. And the same thing also with the guy, who are now like the faces, basically, and avatars that represent our company. And we put them onto this thing in Higgsfield called Soul ID, and it learned how they look. And this could be you. These could be images of you, yeah, and it doesn't need to be a fictional person. And then we started creating things like this. This is a story in a car posted by that first character. This is her playing bass. This is her in a cafe. This is a demo we're showing brands for how they can use this tech for campaigns. Same with the guy, where we are using Higgsfield to create content with him as well. And so it's so easy to create content with AI, no matter what it is. It could be logos, it could be photos, it could be visuals, it could be graphics, it could be icons, text, typography, anything. I don't see a need, especially if you're not a designer, I don't see a need to do things manually anymore in terms of designing your deck. And if you're a designer, these tools are only going to make you better at what you do. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. If you want to get super, super fancy, once you learn the separate tools and you start understanding what they're good for, there are tools out there that combine all of them. The Xfield is one of them, but it's still kind of separate. If you go into Xfield, you can see like the image models here, the video models, etc. Um, but it's not in a way where they interact with each other. So this is where tools like Flora and Fuser come in. So there's a tool called Flora, but I'm going to demo Fuser for you. But there's also Flora, which is, I mean, the title says it. It's the unified suite. It's a place where you can have all of these different models in one place interacting with each other. And I wouldn't recommend starting there. I would recommend testing Ideogram لحال, ChatGPT لحال, Nano Banana and Gemini لحال, and even Google Gemini. You get a few, I think, free generations every day. So it's a good place before you like pay any money to just do things here and adjust things with Gemini and then just use it. I'm not going to demo this right now. It works very much like ChatGPT. But say you can put reference images, you can tell it to generate something, and it does a really good job at this. And this is where things like Fuser and Flora come in. And I love Fuser and Flora because it's حدا منكم مستعمل Miro? Just like a very quick yes or no on the chat if you're familiar with Miro. Miro is like this place where people can collaborate together and it's like one board, okay, where you can put stuff, you can put references, collaborate, etc. This is very much like Miro or even Figma حتى إذا بتتذكروا our Figma workshop. The interface is very, very much like Figma. And what you can do here is you can start connecting different AI models together in one place. And so as I'm نفتح هون you have the LLMs, so all the text stuff, the images, the image models. So you have مثلا ideogram as بكتبه, you have ideogram, you have nano banana, you have شو كمان GPT image, I think it's not GPT. You have GPT image. You have all the video models as well. عندكم runway, عندكم Luma, عندكم Google Veo, عندكم Sora, rest in peace. Sora is getting discontinued. بس إنه عندكم all these. You even have audio generation, mesh generation for those who want to work with 3D, and even code. If you know creative coding and you want to create visuals with code, you can connect that. And the way it works is these different AI inputs act as nodes and they connect with each other. So في يلا لChatGPT إنه actually let's say I want to do the same thing I did with ChatGPT on, but I want to do it here. So I can upload, let's say, I know, I can upload this image مثلا. And you can start connecting things together. فوت as an attachment. بقول له give me a prompt that would allow me to see this image from the side profile. And then you execute. بيجي تشات جي بي تي ببلش يكتب لكم هلا a prompt. In the meantime, I'm gonna prepare Gemini, which is Nano Banana here. I'm gonna put Nano Banana Pro. I'm gonna go to landscape. I'm gonna connect this image again, and I'm gonna connect the prompt that ChatGPT gave me into the prompt here, and I'm gonna tell Gemini, and can you please generate this? And then it's gonna take a moment, but it's gonna generate it from the side, and then you can take that image or that prompt and do more edits and start really mixing and matching how things work together. And this is such a powerful way to design with AI. This is kind of the version of how like people are using Claude to automate operations. This is a way, مش to automate design, but to really speed up design with AI, but still be creatively involved in how you're designing your decks, your visuals, كل هالقصص, visually. And so decks used to take me a year or two ago, almost a week per deck to be able to really create all the visuals and finish them. Now I can roll out 1 to 2 decks every day and create a lot of variations. And so I can show you actually while it generates, I can show you here. No, مثلا all the visuals in this deck are based on the images of those two characters that I showed you, and I created the visuals that work with the deck. And I started putting them in different places. This would have taken me ages to do before. Yeah, and I wanted to like say, okay, you can pick your first persona. I created a visual with multiple different versions, and it's like almost a game character picker thing. And so really just iterating super quickly on how you can generate images. And I'm going to show you what a workspace of mine looks like. This is what it looks like when I am working here. I'm just kind of workshopping ideas, creating visuals. Only because we're in the world of digital humans, we sometimes want to like test out different hairstyles, etc. And so I start combining the AI models. مثلا, I'm using Claude here. حطيت له الصورة. I'm like, give me a prompt that would allow Nano Banana. And so this is actually interesting because you can tell Claude, like, make your prompt work with this certain AI model. And then it created the prompt. I connected that prompt to Nano Banana and then connected the images as references. And then it created what I needed. And we started very quickly creating tens and hundreds of iterations that would have usually taken us days and weeks. Well, again, this isn't just about like photography or digital humans. This is something you could do with logos. It's something you can do with graphics, with pretty much anything. And there are so many exciting use cases for how this could be done. Okay, so مشى الحال. It gave me the side view. And so this is a super simple example of like two AI models working together because you're connecting them visually. And what I like about this process is once you build a logic from left to right, at some point you can go back and change one thing and then recreate kind of the workflow without repeating every single step. And this is basically how I've switched into designing art decks for Impersonas. And it really speeds up your process. It has so much potential. I'm gonna just like finish this off super quickly by showing you some of the stuff that other people may be doing, which is one of my favorite ways to learn these tools is to go here and just see other people شو عم بيعملوا. How are they creating visuals? مثلا, some are creating like fashion mode prototypes and mockups. Some are putting their logo on merch. Actually, this is an interesting use case. So let's maybe open that. مثلا هون حطوا their logo and they're using AI and different models interacting together to put it on merchandise, on caps, t-shirts, books, etc. And الحلو انه these you can just go in and check how they did it. Like, what did they connect to Gemini? What did they tell it? شو طلعوا لبرا? It's such a powerful way to handle design with AI in a holistic sense. That being said, مثل ما قلت, I would not do this um, as my first entry into designing with AI. This is one of those things that you want to do when you're like more familiar with the different models independently and how they work. بتصيروا تفكروا إنه يلا يا ريت this model can do this as well as the other model. And you start building this logic of, okay, maybe they can interact together in a certain way. This is another example I was testing. This is a Studio Ghibli film, Totoro. I just brought 3 images of stones from Google, فوتهم على Claude Chat. قلت له يعطيني prompt that helps me transfer something into this style. I put this prompt into Gemini with the image as a reference, and it recreated it as a stone carving. These are such simple examples, but imagine just how much you can unlock without needing to be a designer or a photographer or a visual artist in terms of visuals, just by connecting these different tools together and creating the things with them. And so I'm going to leave the last 15 or so minutes for questions, because I know Hani said some of you had your hands raised, that we had questions. Would love to hear like your thoughts, or if there's any use case that you're wondering about, if you can use it or not, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, Omar, you can go ahead.
Hello. First of all, thank you for the
Hello.
amazing presentation. Uh, it was very interesting, and these are very interesting tools that I would love to try for my project. Now I had a question for the pitch deck. So if we want to use, let's say if we want to use the first tool you showed
Oh,
us,
idea.
for the pitch deck. Yeah,
Yes.
ideogram. So is it consistent as someone asked already in the chat also? Is it consistent? So if I want to make my slides, because logically I won't be able to have the same style consistent with the ones that I already did handmade. So I'm gonna have to use that tool for the full pitch deck, right? Or should I use some handmade, some made by the tool?
Okay,
What
so
do you
this
suggest?
is this is how I would do it. Hala, there's no right or wrong way. I do need to say this. There's a million ways you can approach this workflow. I would use ideogram if I have a deadline for a deck in an hour and I haven't started it yet, and I need it to make it. I need to make it super awesome, super engaging, get the idea across, and just test things. And also, I use it enough for iterations and tests before I go and put the time into making a deck with this many visuals. I try to make a simple version of this using ideogram and see how it's received, if people understood what I'm trying to tell them in the deck. And then I start developing a deck. To get more consistent styles, this is where you need to use tools like Flora or Fuser or other tools where مثل ما عملت هون أنا with the stone, you can put your existing decks as images or PNGs and connect them to Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT and tell it, give me a consistent prompt I can use to make it. And actually, user boards for stuff that I usually look for stuff. It's actually uh, just give me a moment. I'll get to the point in a second, I promise. Okay, so I got these references, fisheye photos, very distorted. I put them all in Fuser. I told Claude Chat and create a really good prompt that works with Nano Banana that would let me create this style in every photo I make. And then I used that and created this, and then I created this. Sorry, yeah, this thing. And so it really, really was good at recreating that style. I showed it from reference. And so if you're applying your text, you need to figure out how to prompt that style to be consistent. You need to show it to AI, and AI is going to tell you, okay, this is what you need to say or do to get that style in the new visuals that you're creating. وشوي على شوي, you're going to get better at it, and you're going to understand the different things that are going to let you create that. And so هيدا ما بحس حتعمل لود لأنه almost 400 images. And so it's going to go also. This is what I wanted to show you. Does anyone else have questions?
I actually do.
Yes, please go
Now,
ahead.
now this is not pitch deck related, but it's more
Mm-hmm.
creative related. You
Mm-hmm.
tapped into Higgs field a while ago, and I wanted to
Yes.
know, I've saw some of your content on Instagram, and I really like the videos you've created. I'm
Uh-huh.
pretty sure that's
Thank
Higgs
you.
field, right?
It's a mix. Some of it is with Xfield, yes, but it's a mix. I don't believe in a jack of all trades tool. I use each tool for what it's really strong at doing. And so this is how I'm doing it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna just let you know, I'm trying to create a commercial for my brand.
Oh,
All right, and it's a storyline, basically, it's a storyboard, and I
yeah.
wanted to create it. And a friend of mine mentioned Higgs field, and he's an AI videographer.
Hmm.
I just wanted to know how powerful is it? I know it's very good, and a lot of people are using it. It's just how easy it is if I want to do it myself.
It's pretty easy. اوكي finally ظبطت. نفس الباسورد ديالي 4 ساعات بحطها. For some reason now it's working. It's very easy. It's this is what Higgsfield is for. It's not, well, I mean it's meant for designers and motion artists and كل هالقصص, but it's also meant for your average person to create some amazing content with it. And so you can see, and if you go to video مثلا, you have all of the different models that you might need, as well as like presets made to make your life easier. There's so many presets that you have that could help you create some amazing commercials, and some amazing content. And each one of these is good at a different thing. We use it for content as well. We're creating kind of ground trailers of our digital humans using, well, it's not, Higgsfield isn't an AI model. Higgsfield is a tool and it has all the AI models in it. And so you're technically just shortcutting and shortcutting the process and using a much more accessible way to create certain content. And you can create audio, you can connect 11 labs, create voiceovers. One amazing tool in Higgsfield that I want to use that I haven't used yet is I want to make brand reels for us in multiple languages. وحلو إنه إذا هلا I'm speaking in English, I can go to audio and there's this thing called translation, and it's not a translation in text. It makes me talk in a different language with my voice, and it also changes my lip sync. So I look like I'm actually speaking French or Chinese or Japanese or whatever language I need to communicate in. It also has tools for like auto captioning. So Higgsfield, I use it for video more than images. Um, because it's kind of like everything I showed you and how to design a deck. Higgsfield is that and how to design like a commercial or a video or a an advertisement for your startup.
That's great. I just wanted to. I'm aware that Higgs field is a combination of all the different tools like Kling and Nano Banana and so on. It's just I wanted to know how easy it is for someone that has no experience in this.
Very easy. If you learn to properly describe what you want, it's very easy. It gives you really good tools to do it. And yeah, and it's what Canva is versus Adobe. And Canva was made for people who aren't designers to make design. This is kind of what the version of that for video using I would say. So it's very accessible, very easy. You don't need to have a background in like visual or creative studies to be able to use Higgsfield.
Great,
Okay,
thank
next
you.
question.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm amazed as usual, Nour Hassoun. It's an amazing
Thank you. Thank
presentation.
you.
Really, I loved it.
Thank you.
Yes, and I learned a lot as well from these different tools. I'm amazed how you are connecting many tools to communicate together in a smart way. Yeah. I want to ask you, we can do the same for Canva Pro. Can we link these tools as well, like Claude you did now to Gemini and
You can connect the output from Canva Pro. I'm not a big user of Canva personally. I
Mm.
don't love using Canva, but I'm not a fan of the interface. But what you can do
Yeah.
is you can take things out of Canva, put them into some of these tools, and then bring them back into Canva. This is what I do with InDesign, يعني. But I always build my decks in InDesign specifically. I usually export the image or the slide or whatever, or the visual that I made. Uh, use it within these tools and then bring it back. You can do the same with PowerPoint. And so Canva, InDesign, PowerPoint, Holisas, I would say they're more to kind of put your presentation together or create like your base layout for the visual and whatnot. Uh, but I've seen some ways where people are connecting AI agents into those tools, but that's a whole different thing. And when I'm making AI agents, they're kind of doing the design for you. It's a bit less hands-on, as opposed to using tools like Flora or Fuser, for example. Flora, by the way, I know ما فرجيتكم إياه, but Flora is basically pretty much like Fuser. There's a bit of Flora interface. Very similar, just a different tool. Fuser, I find it more cost effective. This is why I use it. But and I personally prefer just doing things straight in those platforms. And you can see they're built to help you create your visual identity and assets. And then I take them back to Canva and design PowerPoint when they're at a state that, خلاص, and this is what I want to use. That's how I do it. But and again, as I said, ما في one size fits all solution. You can integrate them in however way you want in your presentation or workflow.
Yes, and do you think what is best tool for something not for the pitch itself, but for a brochure like attractive one, creative? What tool do you think best to be used?
And I would personally use ideogram for that kind of stuff because brochures they usually have some text, some titles. I would use a mix of ideogram and some images probably put together in um either personally I would use InDesign to put them together, but you can put them together in any software that you want. And then I would make the assets separately. And the images بعمل لحال, the text I might use ideogram or I might just do it myself. But if you're not from a background in like design or typography, ideogram is gonna cut your process by a million percent.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then once I have these assets, بعمل like an asset list, kind of like how I did here. Usually I would create folders with asset lists, and then I would use those assets in creating the final version.
Yes.
And so كمان الجواب, I think one point to make is it depends also how much time you have. يعني I would try to get the entire slide in one prompt if I have 10 minutes to finish the whole thing. If I have 3 to 4 days to kill, I would probably create the assets separately. وصير ألعب إنه okay, no, I want this visual here, I want this text to be here. And as I said, like ideogram gives you the option to remove the background, so whatever like graphical assets you make, whether it's typography or icons or whatever, you can remove the background and just basically put them on your brochure and move them around and see how they work or where they would work. And so this is what
And
I would personally do.
yeah,
Also, maybe worth mentioning, في شيء اسمه
yeah.
Canvas ideogram, which is kind of like
Uh,
Fuser, where you can like go and go deeper into editing your images. يعني you can see أنا هيدا I use it quite a lot. مثلا إذا بدي شيء vertical بدي أعمله horizontal. This is the image that I had. Sorry. So this was the original image that I had, but this wouldn't fit in my pitch deck. And so I put it into a diagram here. I used like the extend tool. قلت له بدي إياها to be 16 to 9. And it just gave it where the frame is going to be. And then I gave it a prompt and I told it to generate the empty background, and it gave me a version of this visual that I can use in my deck. So now I have a version of it for PC and web, and I have a version of it for phone. So come in. These are things. If you're from a design background, you would know these were our biggest nightmares. They will take so much work. Like إذا مش حاسين حساب من الأول بدنا الشغلة on the phone, it's almost impossible to redo it for a different format. Now with AI, you can adapt your visuals and your content so quickly into any kind of format you want using any of these tools. يعني حتى بعد أنا لهلا I consider myself and I'm still learning. Like there's so much potential in the workflows. It's also new. You can figure out ways ويمكن تجوا بعد أسبوعين تقولوا لي نور فينا نحن نعلمك شيء عملناه أنت مش خاطر على بالك. It's really promising and really exciting um, for all things visuals at the moment.
Yeah. And the final question.
Yes, go
Uh,
ahead.
yes. You told us about if you want to catch a customer or an investor in 30 seconds, you have to have
Oh,
an impressive image. I
yes.
want to ask you, let's take an example, the roadmap. For example,
Mhm.
it's one slide from the pitch, but it has a crowdy information per year. For example, you have 5 points. If you want to make it attractive, to be able to be creative and to attract with it, because he has no time to read it. يعني, the whole pitch is 3 minutes, so the roadmap should not maybe take more than 30 seconds. Uh,
This is
can
this is oh sorry, I
yeah.
come. Yeah.
Can you show me heck something like I know in a roadmap it's usually it's crowdy. Can you show me something heck that just heck to have an idea and know how to make it minimalized and simpler
Okay,
than
so
with the
I
creativity.
what I'm gonna say is it's super important to iterate and have different versions in the sense that Arthur is gonna get into this next week. في شيء اسمه email deck في شيء اسمه like your 3 second خلاص attention grabbing deck في شيء اسمه presentation deck. These are very different things. When I show a roadmap and 5 steps with details, this is probably for an investor who's already interested. I don't need to grab their attention. I need to give them information because they're going to go into due diligence. This isn't the deck I would use to send to someone who doesn't know my company. That would probably be just like 8 slides. It's the flashiest titles, the market, the biggest highlights that I
Um,
could show to get them excited to look at more detail. Then I have different decks for those different things. Before, I used to have to make each one of those decks, and this is kind of what this workshop is about. And now with these tools, just make different decks. It's so easy to iterate. You can have 12 different versions of decks. حتى إذا فرجيكم هلا I'm working on a brand deck that's give me a second. إذا بدكم يكون فتح إذا حدا عنده سؤال تاني بس I'm gonna show you like how different the decks can look. Also, does anyone have other questions? لنلحق كمان before the time is finished. Okay, I'm guessing not, so let's make this final point once that loads. Sorry كل شيء بطيء بس لأنه I'm screen sharing and sharing video and a bunch of other things وعندي كل هالاشياء مفتوحة so my laptop is currently screaming in pain. And the brand deck هلا هيدي بعد ما عملناها so now this is for brands and so the visual identity is super different from the investor deck that we are sharing. So just give it a moment like for it to load. And then we're just showing like publication style digital human activations and how brands can use them. We wanted to make it relevant to them. Like, how can these be used in your campaigns? And so it's very much like publication, editorial style, as opposed to a deck like this, which is for our industry partners, which still has the visual identity, but here we made everything white to focus a bit more on the content, on our distribution, on how things work. And this is an email deck, which is why it has a bunch of text. This is usually for partners who are already interested, versus this deck, which is the one we usually pitch also on stage, which is much more colorful. Let's like get some attention, be flashy. Um, and I'm using all of them. I use all of these decks for different purposes because now I have the tools to make these different decks for different purposes. And so your deck could range from 4 slides up to maybe like 30 slides, depending on which stage you're at or how much information the person you're talking to needs to have on hand. And yeah, and I think Arthur is going to get more into that, I think, at the next workshop where he's going to go less into the design of how to design the decks and more into what is the content, how do you communicate the ideas in the most effective way. And so if you combine the knowledge of visual communication that you learned here with what Arthur is about to teach you about uh, communication, not visual, just total communication, like information and how it's communicated in decks and what the different kinds of decks are, I think you're pretty set to create some amazing decks. So this year أنا بدي أشوف when you're all pitching, I want to see some amazing looking decks. I don't think there's an excuse for anyone anymore if they're not a designer to not have a really good design deck. مثل ما designers don't have an excuse anymore to not prototype a platform on Lovable and start going into code because all of these gaps of the industry gaps are being narrowed down and AI is bridging a lot of them together.
Okay, thank you, Noor. Thank you for the presentation. I'm sure a lot
My
of people
pleasure.
learned something new today, so very happy. And then we'll repeat this every IVP, right? كتير حلو يعني.
Yes.
We had lots of
Thank
value
you.
webinars. So finally we're able to do them. We've been talking about doing them.
100% ليك عن جد I think مش we can't even repeat it every IVP لأن the tools get so much better كل مرة يعني probably
Hey,
the
قصدي
next time I
repeat
give
a
this
similar webinar بس
أكيد
بالظبط.
أكيد بس يعني حتى عم يعني بحس إنه من هلا the next IVP these tools are gonna become so much better لدرجة إنه يمكن ما حتى تعوز شيء مثل فيوزر يمكن تفكر الفكرة وتطلع لك خلص على الشاشة at that point
أنا بدي
إيه
أوصل
يعني ما 100% بس انا ما بعرف اذا you remember يعني when I first pitched the idea of this webinar ما كان في غير انه ايديوجرام وانا كنت مبسوط انه واو في يعمل لوجو that was like the best thing in the world كل هالقصص التانية was not a thing
yeah,
بس I was happy and now I can save time making some certain like logos or
sure.
titles now look at what you can do next year you can probably just tell AI that you want an ad تعطوه الفكرة كلاود بيحضر لكم السكريبت وكل شيء and then فجأة بيطلع لكم ad خالص this is and I'm not exaggerating I think next year this is where we're going to be at you can create visual ads videos etc just by giving the idea giving a couple information and then the AI models are gonna take care of the rest
Sure.
so I do wanna kind of end this with a last call إذا حدا عنده any final questions let us know otherwise happy to end this here I'm guessing that's a no
Yeah,
so
hi. Thanks.
thank you for joining و يلا have a good قد إيه
Hi
الساعة هني
everyone.
بعدكم ما غيرتوا الساعة ما هيك
6 نحن.
6 بعدكم ما غيرتوا الساعة have a good night evening
اوكي يلا باي.
يلا باي باي
Thank you.